Hi, I'm Steve from Mac84, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Vintage Computer Federation swap meet that they had on April 24th, 2021. This was the first swap meet I was able to go to for such a long time, and my goodness, there was so much cool stuff to go and look at, and I can't wait to share some of the photos and videos that I took there. There is so much cool stuff that I want to show you guys, so I'm actually going to have to split this video into two parts. This was my first time attending a VCF event. I always went to the Tinted Computer Festival, which I loved, but over the years, unfortunately, their flea markets have gotten smaller and smaller. Visiting VCF's swap meet was like taking a time machine back in time. It was crazy. There was tons of stuff there at very affordable prices. There were old PC stuff, old Mac stuff, Commodore stuff, Amiga stuff, Apple II stuff, TRS-80 stuff. I mean, anything. There was something for everybody there. Radio tubes, floppy drives, old media. There was some scanners there. There were printers, daisy wheel printers, dot matrix printers. There was so much cool stuff, modern stuff, old stuff, radio and TV stuff. And I was overwhelmed, to be honest with you. Thankfully, I wasn't alone. My friend Mike from Mike's Mac Shack, my friend Sean from Action Retro, and my friend Brian from Brian's Computer Retreat, among others, were also at this event. So it was great to hang out with them, see what else there was. You know, they would say, hey, did you see that? And I would go over and take a look, or I would say, hey, by the way, guys, take a look at this. You know, I don't want it, but do you guys want it? So I'm going to share some photos and videos that I took at the event, and I'm going to narrate what I saw and some of the things that I may not have had a chance to take a photo of. I'm also going to show you the majority of the items that I picked up. This is not going to be everything, but the cool pieces that I want to show you guys, that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Thankfully, the weather on Saturday was beautiful. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I had a blast hanging out with everyone, and it was just such a thrill to see all the amazing things everyone had to offer. I didn't end up taking too many photos and videos, but I'm glad I got what I did. But I wasn't alone with that. The other guys were also too busy rummaging around and trying to buy things and stuff like that to take any pictures. Although I did take some time to document some interesting things, like this person who bought an Apple III and got a bonus mouse nest inside. I sure hope they got a discount from the $100 asking price. Now let me show you what I managed to grab at the swap meet. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys some things. I'm going to put them on the table. This is going to be in no real particular order, but I just want to show you guys some of the cool stuff I picked up. Of course, it wasn't just about finding cool things at the swap meet. I had the pleasure of meeting and hanging out with my friends Mike from Mike's Mac Shack, Brian from Brian's Computer Retreat, and of course Sean from Action Retro. Sean was nice enough to also give me some video making advice. So let's take a look at what's inside some of these boxes. Okay, so there's quite a lot of stuff in this box. And I'm not going to go through every bit and piece, but I'm going to bring out some of the cool things. So we have some manuals in here. This is a manual for a 16-inch color display. I actually have that monitor, so that's cool. This was interesting. This is from some 3D software. There's the serial number on there, but that won't do you much good because this thing is dongle protected. So this is, it's an ADB dongle that I guess is required to use this piece of software. And let's bring out what is in here. So we have a CD. I believe it's a CD. Is the CD still in there? Feels like something's in there. Yes, there is. Alright, so there's a CD, and that actually opens like this. It is apparently for Windows and Macintosh. I guess this is the Macintosh version. Or at least it's a hybrid disk. Yeah, it is a hybrid disk. And this is for doing a lot of things in 3D. Okay, 3D synthesizer. So, I don't know how popular this piece of software is. I've actually never heard of it. There's also a CD installer floppy. Okay. So a piece of documentation. Yeah, there's what looks to be a little manual here telling you how to use that hardware key, that little dongle there. And there's some instructions. Yeah, so I'll be scanning some of these. Unfortunately, I don't know how useful these discs will be since it does require this dongle, but still very cool. Oh my goodness, we have a bunch of CDs in here, a lot of Adobe software, older versions obviously. There's a few CDs in here. There's like a Final Cut Pro Studio set. There's some upgrade discs in here. Unfortunately, some of these boxes are missing things, but they're like Mac Pro accessory kit boxes. There's a copy of Tiger. I did not have the small box. It doesn't have the Tiger disc in there, but this stuff was all given to me for free. I did not pay for any of this. Dennis was very kind to give me some of these items. I did buy some other stuff from him, but he did give me this other box of goodies for free. We have an iMac book here. His deal was basically, if nobody wants this by the end of the day, it's yours. And nobody did, so I ended up walking away with a lot of it. We have some more Adobe discs here. This would be fun to play with on some vintage Macs. Let's see, Adobe Persuasion. We have some questionable legality CDs here. We have some copies of iLife. iWork, okay, Trial. Hardware test for a G4. Some more Final Cut CDs. We have some CDs for, I believe that's for an iMac DV. I opened that up before. These are accessory kits, I believe, for Mac Minis. Yep, that's for a Mac Mini. Always good to have these CDs. I do not have the originals. I always have to burn a copy or find a copy elsewhere. This is also for a Mac Mini. This is for a G4. There are 4 discs in there. This has all the discs except for Snow Leopard. So it's a little disappointing. I never had the small box, so it's nice to have a little small box. My Snow Leopard disc has seen better days, so I was hoping to find another copy of Snow Leopard, but for now I guess I'll just stick to the box here. And I apologize for the camera not focusing. I'm just trying to do this quick and dirty, and if I leave it on manual focus, more things will probably be out of focus. But Adobe Premiere. This is Final Cut Pro, this box here. We have some other CDs and stuff. So a lot of goodies in here. There's a copy of Toast. How about that? Did not have a physical copy of that. This disc I have to archive. Macworld Secrets. Oh no, Macworld Presents. I was thinking of the Macworld Secrets books. But yeah, it's an Internet Starter Kit. So this provides you with some goodies in there. System 751 update, 7 great Mac games, July of 1995. Do not know if that's archived yet, but it soon will be. And we have some totally legitimate copies of Office. And what else? It just goes on like this. Another Roxio disc, Go Live. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in here. There are 2 cables that I bought elsewhere that I just put in this box. These are good to have. These are extension cables. They're both PS2 and the what is it, AT variety or ATX? I think it's AT. Whatever it is. I'm not really a PC guy, but I know what these go for. And my friend Mike is yelling at the screen right now going, "They're called this, you dork!" So these were good to pick up. These were like literally $1 each or something like that. Always good to have the extra cables like those. And I also bought some of the adapters, both the PS2 to the other type and the other type to PS2, so I could convert any keyboard for PCs pretty much for what I'll need to be doing, which is great. Let's put all of these pieces of software back in the box. And then, this is not the only box that I got from Dennis, so let's show that off. Now, for those of you who know what these 2 items are, you're probably like, oh my gosh, how did you find those? So I met somebody named Dennis at the show, and Dennis used to work at Cisco back in the day, and we became fast friends, and he gave me a whole bunch of cool stuff, which we'll be showing in a little bit. Well, one of the first things I saw in a box on his table was this remote control, and this goes for an Apple Power CD. The Power CD was Apple's portable CD player / SCSI external CD-ROM drive, and it's a very cool product. I actually have one. I have 2, but both of them are missing the remote, and one of them is missing this base. So I was very, very excited to find the base here. It is required, unfortunately, to use that Power CD, so you do need the base, otherwise it's basically a paperweight. He did say that at one point in time, Cisco gave them these Power CD products, and then later on they replaced them with the NEC multi-spin semi-portable external CD-ROM device. So it was very cool that he still had these. He didn't know where the CD player was, but I was happy to pick up these 2 items because this completes part of my Power CD setup. Okay, so I got a few more items from Dennis. We played a bit of a game. If I could guess what the cable was, he gave it to me. So we have a Firewire 400 to 800 cable here. Always useful to have. Let's see what else. This is a bit of a long DB15 to VGA cord. So this is an adapter. It'll let you plug in your Apple monitor to a PC. So we have DB15 female, VGA male at the end. Very, very cool. We have some ADB cables, some serial cables, modem cables for the Macintosh, so very, very good to have. And these were really cool. I was looking for these actually because I have the monitor that goes with these. I picked up the monitor for $5 last year, but it was missing these speakers. These are for our compact monitor, and these go right on the edges of it. There are these hooks here, and it just slides into the monitor. These are JBL speakers. I don't know how good they are, but you know what? It's cool to complete that set. He also gave me these little drive sleds. These are for the blue and white G3 tower, and I believe they work on some of the G4s as well. And these were in there. These are a bunch of them were in there. These are our PS2 female to USB-A male adapters, so allow you to plug in either, I guess, a Windows or a PS2 mouse into a Mac or something like that, or a PC with USB. This was also in there, so this is the floppy disk for the Power CD. Very, very cool. So this is the CD player application, I believe. I believe this is a ROM sim for a Power Mac. Not exactly sure what model. Part number is 341-0741. And now everybody will be spamming the comments telling me which exact thing this is. Either a cache module or a RAM module, or I'm sorry, a ROM module. But yeah, that's what this is. Always good to have another one. Dennis also gave me this. This is a PowerBook adapter. This is for the 1400 series. Always good to have. I have more of the 1400 than I do the power adapters. So very good to have again. We played a guessing game of what it was for. He said, yep, and he handed it over. Okay, so I also picked up these things from Dennis, and this is what I was really excited about. So Dennis, like I said before, used to work at Cisco, and they used Mac stuff until I think the late 90s or the early 2000s. But he had these two flippin' files, and these are filled with floppy disks. So this thing is just full of disks, mostly for the Macintosh. We have fonts, we have a lot of Cisco stuff, looks like product documentation, and things that I guess were internal or were meant to support or inform individuals about their products. We have an old copy of Macintax here. We have some LaserWriter fonts. We have some Global Village discs. We have a Macintosh installation for the NEC Multispin. That was what he got after the Power CD. We have a Farallon Ethernet driver disk for Macintosh. We have Hard Drive Toolkit Personal Edition 2.06. And we have some other Apple discs here. So this just has so many discs in here. Unfortunately, I did try and read some of the more interesting looking discs, and they had some errors. So I was not able to copy all of them. I'm going to try cleaning them and clean my disk drive and try another machine again. But there's some interesting things in here, like Mac Tools Deluxe. This is like some hard drive utility software. So that was very cool. We have some discs here by Radius. Unfortunately, some of these discs were overwritten, and they no longer have any data on them, which is unfortunate, and some of these just simply don't read. So again, I'm going to try and clean these discs, see what I could do, because some of these drivers and stuff may not be on Macintosh Garden or archive.org. I'd love to archive those if I can. One of these Stingray discs worked. There were two of them here. I forget which one worked, but one was just coming up with errors, and one worked. But these are for trackballs. So two different discs here. One is from 1991, and one is from 1994. So two different versions. Again, we have these Radius discs. Unfortunately, not a full set. Cool nonetheless, but unfortunately one of them was written over and one of them is giving me read errors. So I'm going to try and fix that up, but we'll see what we can do. This disk was giving me some of the worst trouble. Everything copied over except the application, which is unfortunate, but this was a SCSI utility that I don't know if it has been archived or not. There's just so much cool stuff here. Another Ethernet card. Looks like some sales documentation for Cisco products for the Mac, which is really cool. We have some mapping software, so some Road Atlas software. We have Kensington MouseWorks. This copied over. Only version 5.02 is on the Garden, so this is 5.00, so that might be neat. And this was neat because it still had the little plastic wrap with the Radius sticker there, if you could see that. Again, apologies for the focus of the camera. It's set to auto, and that's just what we're going to be doing today. And Yeah, look at that. Unfortunately, I think this one did not read as well, but we're going to try again. Now this one also had some Mac discs in there, but it also had some PC ones. So I did take both of them because I do have some PC stuff, and I'm not against archiving PC stuff either. I mean, there's some SCSI stuff here. Trantor! Let's see, there's some router product guides and a bunch of other Cisco stuff in here. There's HP printer drivers for the Mac, and again, a lot of stuff is mixed in here. We have some SCSI utilities here. So yeah, there's all sorts of things. There's Microsoft IntelliPoint mice drivers, some ATI discs here, pretty cool, and there's a copy of Norton and stuff. So again, I'll be looking through these disc catalogs and trying to archive them and seeing if I can get any of those stubborn discs to read properly. Dennis also gave me this. This is a Teleport Platinum 28K modem. This is a fax modem for Macintosh computers. It's actually accelerated for Power Macintosh. I will be unboxing this in a video, I think. It's pretty chunky. I have some of these modems without the box, but I just couldn't say no to the item with the box and everything. And again, for the low price of free, how could you say no? We also have a Macintosh user's guide. Always nice. We have an Apple resource guide. We have a installation instruction sheet for the toner cartridge for your LaserWriter 12640PS. I believe one of those LaserWriters was there, I just didn't get to it in time. And then we have a set of system discs. I believe this is System 7.1, and this is for the PowerBook. So we have multiple models of the PowerBook covered here. Always a nice thing to have. Very cool. Alright, and here is actually the first thing that I purchased at the swap meet. This is a Power Macintosh G3 Mini Tower. This is a 266 megahertz model. It has 160 megabytes of memory, and it has that Wings Personality AV input card, which is great. It has a few other cool things here. We of course have the standard floppy drive, standard CD drive, but we have a zip drive as well, which is great. Now, you may not be able to tell from the camera, it is a bit yellowed, unfortunately. If I tip this forward, you should be able to see the difference between the coloring on this area here and there. It looks like there was a CD drive or a zip drive or something sitting on top of it, or a jazz drive or whatever. But a bit yellowed. It's kind of ugly looking, but honestly, and it could be cleaned up. That's fine. I already have a G3 Mini Tower. I have a 333 megahertz model, so a top of the line model. But I always like these towers. They are great bridge machines. They have built-in SCSI, built-in IDE. They have all the legacy I/O. They're pretty easy to get into, which is fantastic. And if for nothing else, just for the spare case parts and the bezels, even though they're a bit yellowed, a fantastic machine to pick up. So I am very happy that I saw this. I regret not picking one up a while ago when I saw it pretty cheap, so I jumped on the chance to get this one. And it also came with a keyboard. So we have a keyboard here, which is nice. It also has a power cable here. And the seller also included a copy of Adobe Photoshop. So that was very nice of them. So this is version 4 of Photoshop. I think this is the box that was cut up a little bit, and the user's guide and everything is in there. But that was a nice little inclusion there. It has macOS 8.1 on the hard drive already. And you'll notice there's this peculiar sticker here. Let me zoom in the camera here. There we go. That says, hold down Shift key and turn on. Well, any Macintosh user should know, at least a vintage Macintosh user, should know that holding down the Shift key disables extensions. And sure enough, if you didn't do that when you booted this up, it froze. So there were a lot of extensions turned on with Norton and some other things that they installed on this machine. And I'm not really sure what was going on, but I just reverted the extensions back to the base set, and the system is working fine. So the floppy drive works, CD drive works, haven't tested the zip drive yet, but that should work fine. And so this was the first item I picked up, and I did not have the ability to just bring it back to my car right away, so I left it with the guy. But what was nice is when I went to pick up the G3, I noticed this box was sitting in his car, and it was empty. But I said, do you mind if I have that? And he said, yeah, sure. And this is the accessory kit for the G3. So it might not be this particular model, but it's the accessory kit for it. Also on the side of the G3 Tower was this envelope, and inside here we have some manuals. So we have some technical information here. So this actually might be for the desktop model, not the mini tower, but I also have the desktop model. So yeah, it looks like it's for the desktop model, but I also have that one, so that's not bad. Nice to include that with this set, even though it's slightly not for it. I always like extra documentation and extra goodies. So that was a very nice inclusion there, and I'm very happy that I picked this machine up because this is one of my favorite G3s. I bought one years ago from MacofAllTrades.com, and it still works good today. There's just some rust on it that I have to clean up, but very, very good machine, especially if you want to run Mac OS 9 or Mac OS 8 and you need a bridge machine. This has networking capabilities, built-in IDE, SCSI. You could have a bunch of different drives on the front. You have the serial ports, ADB ports, Ethernet. Very, very useful. So when I went back to the table to pick up the G3, I also noticed some zip disks, so I picked those up, and he was nice enough to also include this microphone. Next, we have two awesome finds, wonderful box copies of Mac OS 9 and Mac OS 10.1. Now, the Mac OS 9 box I've never had. It is a bit beat up, unfortunately. You could see it was crushed, but I think we could maybe put some cardboard inside of here to help pop it up a little bit. It's not in too bad condition considering its age. It is 9.04, so a very early release of Mac OS 9. You could see that it's actually touting iTools there at the bottom. Some copies of Mac OS 9 were featuring Sherlock, but this is featuring iTools. So I think that's very neat. I'm going to lean that up against that monitor there. And here's a copy of Mac OS 10 10.1. I believe this is Puma. And there's some writing on the top, which isn't too bad, but my original copy of this, the box is actually like a pancake. It's squished. So I was very happy to pick up one of these. I love the gatefold design here, where you can open it up and just look at all the lovely features of this operating system. Both of these have all of the discs, which is great. In fact, Mac OS 9 has a Norton disk in there as well. But very happy to have complete versions of these systems. It's getting harder and harder to find my original discs and use them because of the scratches and stuff like that. So it's always good to have another copy. And they just look so beautiful in that box. I think we could hopefully save the Mac OS 9 box so it looks just as nice as the Mac OS 10 box there. As you walk around an event like this, you see all sorts of cool stuff. And it was just one thing that caught my eye after another and another and another. However, one thing particularly caught my eye. My friend Greg from the Mac Yak podcast picked up an Apple IIc monitor for me not long ago, so I have to get that eventually from him. However, I was missing a stand for that monitor, and that's exactly what I found while looking around at the swap meet. So this is a Monitor IIc stand, and it is in the original box. This thing was apparently never used. It's in pretty good shape. It does have all of the original packaging in there, and thankfully, since this is metal, it only has the plastic knobs on the side. This does not really yellow, which is great. So I take this out of the box, and you'll see it's in very good shape. Sort of blends into the styrofoam there. But this is the stand. This is the bottom, and this is the top. And so this is the stand for the Apple IIc monitor. So now I have both the stand in the box and the monitor in the box. They won't be staying in the box. I'll actually be using them. But it's nice to have the box. I'm not one to say no to a box. It's a nice to have item, but I'm not going to go out of my way to collect things in box because I end up using them. Now the seller actually had the stand and the monitor as a bundle. He wanted to sell both of them. But I wasn't really interested in the monitor because I already had one. However, a friend of mine, one of the vendors from the previous Tinted computer festivals I visited, was also there. And he was looking for just the monitor. So we worked out a deal. It was about $125 the guy wanted for the bundle. So I ended up paying about $50 for this stand, and the remainder was paid for the monitor. All in all, things considered, that's not a terrible price. It's a little higher than I wanted to pay, but it does have the box, so that's not a bad deal, I guess. And these things are getting harder and harder to find, especially in such good condition. At that same table, the guy had something else I was interested in. Oh yeah. This is a Color StyleWriter 2500 printer from Apple. Now I already have a few of these printers in the garage, and I'm really not gearing up to be printing with such devices, at least not right now. However, the box is just, it's fantastic. I mean, I'm going to turn this around for you. Just look at that. That is just beautiful. It's not in bad condition. There is a return policy sticker on the top of the box, but it's really not in too bad shape. Most of the tape has yellowed some areas of the box, but it's really not in bad condition. I always like seeing the part number on there and the original shipping label and everything. Now inside is just really the printer. There are some styrofoam things, but it's not complete in box. Let's bring the camera off the tripod here to give you an idea of what's going on. So, of course, we do have the printer. We do have the power adapter because the 2500, unlike the 2400, requires a power adapter. It's not, does not have a built-in power supply like the 2400 model. It looks like we may have an ink cartridge in there, so I'm going to be taking a better look at this thing. But I was very excited, even just for the box. So I guess this was one situation where I was excited for the box. This is a Koala Pad touch tablet, so it's essentially a drawing tablet, and this is for the Apple IIc. They made other ones for Commodores and other systems and stuff like that, but this is particularly for the Apple IIc. Now, what I ended up doing was asking how much he wanted for both of these together, and he said, well, I was asking $20 for the printer, what if you do $20 for both? So, I don't think $20 for both of these items was a bad price. The box is a little bit beat up, but for an item of this age, it seems to have mostly everything in here. We have the floppy disk here. We have some documentation. There's an owner's manual. There's a warranty card. Another owner's manual. It does look like we may be missing the pen, unfortunately, but I think it's just a piece of plastic. I could use like a stylus from a Newton or something like that. So, in pretty good shape. And of course we have, oh, yeah, so the cable's actually stuck to the styrofoam here. Oh, you can see it. Yeah, it like melts. Yeah, you can see the imprint on there. But yeah, we have our standard Apple II, I believe that goes in the joystick port there. So that's really cool. And it's missing the pen, but I'm sure that pen wasn't all too comfortable anyway. And yeah, I have to clean that cable. But I'm sure I could get along just fine by using a stylus from an old Palm Pilot or a Newton or something like that. Look at all these people having so much fun. I was always interested in these types of things, so I'm very excited to try this out one day. Here we have some more lovely finds. From right to left, we have a floppy drive that goes for that compact PC that I picked up from that e-waste dump site when I got the G3 all-in-one. Thanks to Mike of Mike's Mac Shack for spotting this and realizing this was the one with the proper bezel and the holder and everything that I needed for that machine because it didn't really have anything. Everything was stripped from it. Now, I did notice upon closer inspection, unfortunately, the back of this floppy drive, the board is just cracked. And if the camera wants to focus here, you'll notice that this floppy port is pointing downward. And so this whole board is like cracked right here. A lot of pressure must have been put on it. But that's okay. It's just a standard PC floppy drive. If we can't fix that, at least we have the bezel and we have the metal cage around it. So that's really the important part for this computer. And I think that'll work out well for that machine. Again, big thanks to Mike on finding that. Here we have some Jazz and Zip discs here. So this is a new, apparently, Zip 250 disc. Very cool. I don't have too many of these. It's nice to see that this is the older type disc. So here we have a brand new 250 megabyte zip disk here. And yeah, the newer design had a bit of a curve to the bottom of these. And I believe more blue in color to help differentiate between the discs. But very cool pickup here. We also have a Jazz disc. This is the disc that came with your Jazz drive. I believe this is the Windows formatted one. Doesn't matter, you could format it for the Mac if you wanted to. This case is in pretty darn good condition. A lot of the time the plastic cracks and everything. But yeah, this is the Disk Tools disc. So this had all the Jazz software and everything. This guy obviously formatted it for the Mac. But very cool to see that. Always could use some more Jazz media. We have another zip disk here. This looks like Adobe Acrobat was on here. So this is just a standard Zip 100 disc, but you can see it looks almost identical to the Zip 250, so I think that's why they did the design change later on. Here we have a PowerPC G4 processor. This was just handed to me for free because the guy did not have any use for it. I believe this was pulled from an early model, so probably 400 megahertz, 450, something like that. He said it works. It's just a single processor unit. Always good to have a spare. And then these. I could not pass up these. Now, if anybody recognizes these, you know that these are pretty neat. These are Iomega Ditto cartridges. These are basically Iomega's tape backup solution. I actually have an Iomega Ditto drive, but I don't believe I had any of the tapes for them. And so these were new old stock. We have about 8 or 9 discs here, or tapes I should say. But these are really cool. You get 2 gigabytes of compressed data or 1 gigabyte of uncompressed. You can see the Ditto drives on the back. I believe the one I have is of that maroonish, reddish, purplish color on the right. But very, very cool. I have not really played around with that drive because I didn't have the tapes. But yeah, this was in an Iomega box, so apparently this was like surplus or somebody just bought this. I mean, that's really cool, but I could not pass it up. So I said, how much for the box? Made me a good offer, and I took that. Also from that same person, I got a bunch of 5 1/4 inch floppy disk holders. I'll be sharing a few of these with my friends as I don't need all of them, but they're really cool and they're in pretty good shape. I could always use some holders for floppy disks, so this was a good pickup. Okay, so I have a few more things here. This just intrigued me. I was just laughing at the size of this thing. This was given to me for free, but look at the size of this. It's almost the footprint of a compact Mac, and all this is a simple A/B switch for the Apple serial ports. So all this huge chunky box does is take 2 Apple serial ports here and allow you to switch between them. This cable goes to the computer, and then this will go to, say, a printer or a modem or something like that. And it has this big chunky dial on the front. And that's all it is. I literally have the same device that's like this small with even more ports on it. But this was chunky and it was free, and I just couldn't say no. This is hilarious. There's a label on the bottom which might give you some more information about the product. But yeah, I thought this thing was hilarious, so I couldn't say no to that. Another thing I picked up was this lovely Radeon ATI card. I believe this goes with a Mac Pro. This is an ATI Radeon 4870 512 megabyte model. This was $2. I do not think that is a bad price. I do not have too many Macintosh compatible cards that would go on my Mac Pro, and I do have quite a few of those systems that I do use from time to time, and once in a while I do have to trade around the graphics cards. The same guy at that table had this. This is a PCIe little serial and maybe parallel port. Not exactly sure. It was $1, so I wasn't going to say no to that. I do have quite a few PCs and some other devices that I'd love to add a serial port to, so I'm not necessarily sure if this will work with the Mac. He wasn't sure either, but I'm going to look it up and see. It looks pretty generic, so maybe it will, maybe it won't. But for $1, I'm willing to take that chance. And this video card here was a freebie from one of my friends. He didn't really know the specs of it or anything like that, so he offered it to me. This has some writing on it. It says Intel Mac Boots, so that's good to know. He believes it came out of either a Mac Pro or a G5, but since it says Intel on there, I'm going to go with a Mac Pro there. But again, very good to have. I don't have too many of these video cards for those Macs, so it's always good to have a spare. So that's about it for part 1, but please stay tuned. I have some excellent stuff to show you for part 2. I think you're going to really like what's in this vintage Apple box. And if you really can't wait, part 2 of this video is already available for my Patreon supporters. So I think I picked up some really cool stuff, and I know that you'll be seeing a lot of these things in future videos. I want to thank everybody who said hello to me at the show, and I want to thank everybody that pointed something out or said, hey, go check this out, and ended up getting something or at least taking a picture of it, because that was really cool. It was just fun just seeing all the stuff that was out there. And yeah, if I had unlimited funds, oh my goodness, I would have gone a little bit more bananas on some things. But it was really cool to see all this stuff out in the open, and I'm looking forward to future events like this. I will be attending the VCF East show, so that is in October, so go to the VCF website. I'll put a link in the video description or a tag up here to go visit that, but I look forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, a big thanks to my friends Mike, Sean, and Brian. We had so much fun, and I was so glad to just geek out with everybody and see all the goodies that were at this show. But that's about it for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like these sorts of things, please consider subscribing and give that video a thumbs up as well. It helps the channel grow. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you could do so. My handle is Mac84TV. And if you want to support the channel on Patreon, well, you can do that as well. For as little as $1 a month, you could help support this channel, and you get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes videos, early videos, and stuff you just can't get anywhere else. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you right here next time on Mac 84.